Prophet ﷺ mentions a man, يطيل السفر. He'd been traveling for a long time. أشحث أغبر, dusty and disheveled. يمد يديه إلى السماء, raising his hands towards the sky. يا رب يا رب. But his clothes were haram, and his drink was haram, his nourishment was haram. فأنى يستجاب له. And how can that dua be accepted? So this image that the Prophet ﷺ is portraying as a commentary to his statement about eating that which is pure and consuming that which is pure, he gives this example of a man who normally his dua would be fast-tracked. He's a traveler. The dua of a traveler is accepted. He is ashhath aghbar, when a person is dusty and disheveled. So that he's broken and humbled in that moment. Ashhath aghbar, raising his hands towards the sky. We already talked about the raising of the hands as an etiquette of dua, and that Allah does not allow for those hands to come back down empty. He's calling out to Allah by His names and attributes, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. And yet, there's an impediment. What's the impediment? Number one, his food is haram. His drink is haram. His nourishment is haram. So how can that dua be accepted? Prophet ﷺ is distancing the notion that a dua like that could be accepted. The Prophet ﷺ, he says in the hadith of Abu Hurairah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى طَيِّبٌ لَا يَقْبَلُ إِلَّا طَيِّبًا. Verily Allah is tayyib, pure, good. He only accepts that which is pure. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he says, in the same hadith, he says, and Allah has commanded the believers with the same thing that He has commanded the prophets. Both of them being to eat from that which is on the earth, that is halal and tayyib. It's very, very clear to make sure that your income is pure, to make sure that your sustenance is pure. Why? Because that is all that Allah accepts. Now, when it comes to income, a lot of people think just from the aspect of, is my job title halal? Is my job description halal? And so people will ask questions about working at a restaurant that serves alcohol, or people will ask questions about working for a bank, or these types of questions are very, very common. If my job description, what I've agreed upon and what I was hired on, is that I work 40 hours in this capacity doing this, and I spend half of it watching videos on YouTube and scrolling through Instagram, is that income that I'm taking home, is that halal? Right? So that's a very important aspect to pay attention to when it comes to income. And number two, which is what's even more clear to be understood from this hadith, is the food that you consume, that you make sure that it is pure, it is purely sourced, that it is halal. Sa'ad ibn Abi Waqqas, he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, O Messenger of Allah, I want to be mustajab ad-du'a. I want my dua to always be manifested. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Atib mat'amak. He said, make sure that the food that you eat is halal. You will be mustajab ad-du'a. Your dua will always be manifested.